Welcome to the Acuprosper podcast, where we get smart, real, honest, and empowered about creating a thriving acupuncture clinic. I'm Katie Altnew, your host. I'm an acupuncturist, herbalist, and ABORM certified fertility acupuncturist with a clinic in Denver, and I'm the founder of Acuprosper, which is my side passion project where I teach acupuncturists how to start, grow, and market their acupuncture clinics. And I'm the author of the book, Acupuncturists Mean Business. In season 2 of this podcast, it's all about passing the mic to others, specifically to a few of the many acupuncturists out there that I admire and feel inspired by. We are going to get a look inside their journeys, their practices, struggles, mindset, marketing, and more. We're getting real, and we are having some hard and honest conversations about everything from burnout to cultural appropriation. My goal is to show that there are many paths up the mountain, that there's not one singular definition of success or way to get there, and to break down the taboos about discussing business in our healing field and our livelihood. If you'd like to see the video version of this podcast, you can find it on the blog at acuprosper.com. And it is pretty cool to see these acupuncturists' faces light up as they talk about their practices and their passion. Thank you for being here and for making this a safe space to share and explore these journeys and ideas. I hope it shows us what's possible and helps us to feel connected and supported. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. So this week I have a guest I'm really excited about. It is a registered acupuncturist, Amrit Singh. She's an acupuncturist in Toronto, and she is the acupuncturist behind Six Babe Beauty. And she has an awesome Instagram presence, which is how I discovered her, where she does great tutorials about gua sha and also just simplifies things about like the spleen chi, for example, in ways that people can just really understand. And she's both really relatable and inspiring at the same time. And I'm so excited to get to interview her today. I think you're going to love it. So thank you so much for being here, Amrit.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get to connect. I've followed you for a long time on Instagram and feel like I know you already. So, from what I can see, you also often talk to acupuncturists and talk a little bit about business-y stuff sometimes on Instagram, and I love that.
Absolutely.
So I feel like you also like talking about this stuff because my podcast is for acupuncturists and where we talk about business-y growing a clinic. So that's what I want to ask you about first.
Sure.
How you became an acupuncturist, what it was like growing your clinic. I think you used to be in the music industry. Did I make that up?
Yes, that's right. That was my first career.
Cool. So interesting. And so then how did you decide to switch and become an acupuncturist?
I think most acupuncturists, this path kind of chose me. I didn't have a plan to become an acupuncturist. So I was working in the music industry. I had a bad back injury. I fell on the ice in Winnipeg, which is where I'm from. Chronic pain for a long time. Came across acupuncture. It helped me. And that night I decided I was going to quit my job.
That night?
But I didn't.
Wow.
That night.
Amazing.
But I didn't know I was going to become an acupuncturist. I just knew that the stress that I was going through in that career wasn't worth it anymore. Mm-hmm. So I took a year off. I dealt with my chronic pain. I was then diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, dealt with that. Yeah. And then I was like, instead of just reading about Chinese medicine acupuncture all day, every day, why don't I just go to school for it?
Awesome. So cool. So great. I think a lot of us have stories like that where we first experienced it firsthand ourselves. And I think it's a powerful story to share, right? For each of us.
Are you getting an echo?
No. Are you?
I am. I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure it doesn't mess up your recording.
Okay. I don't think it will because Kara had an echo too, and the final thing was fine.
Okay.
It's weird though, huh? Okay. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
So, and then how did you start your own practice? Did you start your own practice right out of the gate? I think it looks like you were renting a room at a chiropractor in downtown Toronto. Am I making that up?
Nope, that's right. So, being an acupuncturist in Canada is a bit different. Acupuncture isn't as big here. Mainly, I think because we have free healthcare. So people aren't used to paying out of pocket for things. And then people also have work benefits. So they might have coverage in that way, but it's usually up to about $500. So after that, it's strange kind of for Canadians to pay for acupuncture. It's growing, it's changing, so it's great now. But like 10, 12 years ago, it was a different game. I was lucky enough that when I graduated, I was offered a job. Again, I'm putting that in quotes because none of us get jobs. We don't have salaries, right? An opportunity to work in a clinic that a friend of mine was getting treatments at. It was a very busy clinic, and they decided that they wanted to get an acupuncturist. So I started there.
Nice.
So that's how it all started for me.
And then, are you still there?
No, so that was a long time ago. I've moved, I've probably been 4 or 5 clinics, maybe 6 in total. I've usually done like maybe 2 clinics at a time. And so my main practice in the past, I'd say maybe like 2 or 3 years has been, yes, in like downtown financial district, operating out of a chiropractic clinic.
Okay, awesome. And so you're still there. And how has it been moving? Like, is it hard to move? Do you lose clientele? Like,
I feel like with every move, I've always leveled up my practice, or it leveled me up,
yeah, I love that.
you know? So when that first place that I was talking about out of school was a split, and that's a good thing to start with, I think, when you're just starting, because you're not having this heaviness with the rent. And then opportunities kind of just kept coming to me, and I was able to still study a lot at the same time. So like I interned with my Japanese teacher, and so I would spend a lot of time at that clinic.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask you about that. I feel like following you. Sorry, we're jumping around now, but and maybe we can circle back to that later. But following on Instagram, I'm like, you've studied. It seems like you studied with some really interesting people, including
Yeah.
like you've gone to. Have you gone to like Taiwan, or you've gone
To Japan and China.
and China,
Yeah.
and to study with people?
Yes. Well, I was originally going to China. My mom was going for work. So I tagged along and asked my teachers if they had any teachers that I could go hang out with.
Oh, so they introduced you? Because in Japan, don't you have
Yeah.
to be like introduced to teachers through somebody you
And,
know?
yeah, and then through Japan, that also just really worked out. I had already booked the trip. We had a teacher coming into our school to do continuing education. So I got the email, and it was on pediatrics, Japanese acupuncture.
Cool.
So I just went, and she's like, and towards the end of the class was like, is anybody, if you're ever going to Japan, you really should try to see such clinics and these clinics. And I'm just like, I'm going in 2 weeks. And she's like, talk to me after.
That's awesome.
So she gave me that introduction.
That's so neat.
And I didn't realize at the time, people had told me when I came back, they're like, that's such a big deal that you studied with Japanese teachers, because they're not that open to foreigners coming in unless there's a strong personal connection.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I felt very welcomed by them. I thought they were all super friendly. Even though some of them didn't speak English, they didn't care. They were like, come on in, do this. I'll show you this. Like, it was wonderful.
That's so amazing. I would love to do that. And I feel like it's actually really hard to do that. So
Right.
There you go. And did you learn so much? Did you mostly like shadow them and watch how they treated? And
Yes. There was one teacher, Kuni Sensei. I spent the most time with him, and their pulse diagnosis is on point.
Wow.
It was really amazing. It was really cool. And his English was good, so we were able to communicate. The clinical assistant was also lovely. And then the other two didn't really speak any English. But it was really cool because it was like, it almost didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what acupuncture was. I knew what moxibustion was. So I could watch them and still learn, even if they weren't able to explain to me in English what they were doing.
Yeah, you knew the points.
You
You could
could
see what they were
learn
doing.
technique, watching, intention. Like, it was great.
That's so neat. And you've also studied with several different facial acupuncture teachers, right?
Yes. So we learned Zen in school.
Oh, in school.
I did AccuRegen with Amanda in England. And then I learned some other facial techniques in Japan.
So neat. And so where did you learn all your gua sha techniques?
Gua sha I learned in Japan.
In Japan.
I learned some when I went to Seoul. It's hard to figure out the years now because everything's a bit of blur. I went to Seoul in 2019.
Yeah, I think I was following you on Instagram and like saw your trip and you got some like really cool treatment.
Yes, that woman. I learned a lot from her. I spent she gave me so much time. I thought I was going to be there for 2 hours. I had no idea. I thought I was going for a treatment, which I did, but I also got a whole bunch of other information. She was lovely.
That's amazing. And how did you get that connection?
There's someone that, well, we follow each other on Instagram, and what was the connection? I think it was her husband's sister's friend.
No,
it was this like
amazing.
It's been a really nice journey.
That's so neat, and it's been really fun to like watch you do that too. So you mentioned that you were in Seoul for a business trip. Is that where you developed like the 6 Babe Gua Sha tools? That's what I made up in my head. That's what I felt like
I wouldn't say that going to Seoul was a business trip. I mean, in a way, I feel like if you are an acupuncturist and you go to Asia and it's not somewhat business on some level, I find that strange.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's where the medicine we're studying is coming from. So how are you like not visiting one clinic, or at least go get an acupuncture session or something from someone? Totally. You always learn something.
Totally.
So my intention was to go, yes, I knew I was going to go to, I had 3 clinics that I was going to in Seoul, but I made that happen. I would have also went to Seoul if I couldn't make that happen. I've always wanted to go there. Because I was going to Seoul and Singapore, because I had friends in Singapore.
Cool.
Yeah, so the Gua Sha tools, I already had them from before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just wasn't a big part of what I did.
Yeah.
Everything was growing. Everything I've done is really quite organic. And I would say everything was always driven and is driven by, I guess I could say, the external world outside of myself. Meaning that what people wanted to ask me or what people wanted to learn is what I then focused on. I never said to myself, I'm doing cosmetic acupuncture now. I'm doing facial gua sha now. I'm going to do this now. It's like it was growing. People were asking me about it. I'm like, okay, I can teach you about this. Then it gets bigger. Then it's like, okay, well, more people want to teach it. Okay, well, I'll teach this online.
Yeah.
And so I've really just followed what has come to me. I know that sounds so not something a business person would want to hear, but it's the truth. And maybe if I did it a business way, I'd be bigger or more profitable or whatever, but I'm not.
But maybe not, because now you could have built your whole plans on something people didn't want, and this way you were responding to what the demand was and what people wanted and what you were called to do. So and I think it's great. Yeah, the business advice is probably make your business plan and make it happen. But I think it can feel stressful to be well, I'm not sure. I don't have this huge vision of what I should do, but all you have to do is stay curious and open, and it will unfold a lot of times. So I think that's beautiful advice. Yeah,
believe it. Definitely not something you could write in a business plan, but it's very much something I believe.
I love that. Elizabeth Gilbert did a great Oprah talk about that. She calls it just be a hummingbird rather than enough to turn your head just a little bit to fly over here and fly over there, rather than knowing your burning passion. And it's a beautiful talk. Oh, I feel like it's what you're saying. So let's go back, and we'll circle back to this stuff later. But first I want to just get some ideas of get a formal visual of what your clinic is like. So how many treatment rooms do you treat out of?
I treat out of 2 rooms.
2 rooms. Cool.
I cannot function in more than 2 rooms. To the acupuncturists out there that are I do 4 rooms, I do 5 rooms. I'm so proud and happy for you, because I can't do it.
I agree. I can't do it either. No way.
2 is the max. I feel I can be with somebody and my energy is up high. 3, I'd be scatterbrained.
Me too. And I like 2 better than 1 actually, because I feel like I can like get in the flow,
Yes.
stay in the flow, and be present with people, and not have like a lull where you're waiting.
Yes.
But like you're not like pressured. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's neat. I didn't know you treated out of 2 rooms. And do you have access to like to a use of a receptionist at the spaces you're at, or do you do your own kind of reception stuff?
I rent there, so it's my own practice within their space. So I can do whatever I want. Like it's my own booking. It's fully my own. It's really great because if I had that much access to rooms in financial core, like for perspective, this would be like working on Wall Street in Manhattan. So, right?
Yeah.
Like you could imagine what my rent would be.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Oh my gosh.
So
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been great that way. This all being said, I'm actually moving July 1st.
Oh, you are? Wow. That's exciting.
My
What's
first
your
time
new
really
space
talking
like?
about it. It's very different. I'm actually going down to 1 room.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going down to 1 room. I'm slowing my practice down.
Do you want to spend more time with your patients? Is that what you're thinking, or you want to add more extra services like gua in a treatment, or what's your thinking behind that?
I do want when we're allowed to do that again. It's still very strict up here. Yeah, I do want to do that, but also I don't know. I just feel called to do more teaching. And just focus on other things and see how that goes. I can always go back to 2 rooms. I can go up to 4 rooms if I want to. I'm not really worried about it.
I love that. Such a good attitude. Not overthinking it, just like going with it, feeling it out. You'll get answers as soon as you like are doing it and like feel how it feels. Yeah. So, what's your most commonly treated symptom? Like, I feel like you specialize in facial acupuncture, but I've also, maybe I'm making this up too, feel like you've studied with Whitfield Reeves and do sports stuff too.
Nope. I have studied with him too. I've done a lot of continuing education. I really feel like I've reinvented my practice. I'd say probably 4 or 5 times over the years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I see, yes, of course, I do a lot of facial acupuncture. Secondary after that, I'd say fertility. And then after that, I would say digestion, anxiety, depression. I'd kind of like almost put that in the same category.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same with me.
I call it society disorder, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And what do you do to get patients in the door?
I will be honest with you, I don't really do a lot.
Yeah.
I think just being on Instagram in the past few years has been very helpful. I also was in a very busy area, like tens of thousands of people, like again, like right, it's like Wall Street, Manhattan, but Toronto version. So I've never really done a lot of marketing. If you really go on my Instagram, I don't even talk about my practice that much.
You don't like.
No.
You're not like, we have an opening, come in, and
no.
Like, yeah.
It's
so
full.
do you think
I'm
people
happy.
also find you from like Google, just like looking for an acupuncturist near you, and you're there?
No. When I do have a spot on my forum that says, "How did you hear about me?" Most of it now in the past couple of years or so has been social media or word of mouth, obviously.
Word of mouth, yeah, and social media. Awesome.
You
do a great job with social media. Absolutely.
Thank you. I think before I started caring about social media, again, was the location. The location sold itself, like 100%. And then I do think some people were probably like downtown acupuncture, and it came up. But
I love that, and I think other people love to hear that because no one wants to spend their time doing marketing, right?
Most people, no.
Yeah. Can I ask you how many people you treat per week?
Of course, yeah. Pre-COVID, 40.
Yeah, nice. And has COVID slowed it down?
COVID slowed it down because we have more cleaning protocols. If I wanted to see 40, I could, but I would be there all day because of the spacing in between, the cleaning in between, the time in between. Then it just makes your day longer, right? And I don't know if is it COVID? Like, again, it's been very strict here, and we've been in this for over a year. We've been in lockdown since November. So it's like, I don't know if I have the capacity to hustle the 2 rooms and do the 40 a week like I used to.
Yeah, I know. It changes.
Yeah, like that hustle muscle. That hustle muscle is weak.
He's tired. Yeah.
I'm tired.
I hear that. Totally.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Nice. So are you going to raise your prices when you go down to 1 room?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So thank you for sharing that with me, by the way. I feel like it's like I get scared to ask people and it's like a funny thing to talk about, but I love just having us talk about it more, you know?
No, we have to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Important.
So harder question and maybe an annoying question, but what do you think like your like special sauce is? Like why do your patients love working with you?
Wow. Why do they come? I think they know. That's what I think it is. I think they know that I love what I do. So I hope that they feel like they know they're in good hands because they can see whether they go on my website and read all the classes I've taken. Maybe they see me on Instagram. They see how dedicated I am, how willing to teach I am. Obviously, I'm passionate about what I do. I hope that translates to them, and I guess it does. This woman loves what she's doing, so she's going to put that into her treatment. She's not just here.
They can feel your passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It does come through. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's neat. And you're right. When people feel your passion, they feel like you must be really good at what you do if you're passionate about it. And then they trust you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So what do you wish you knew when you were starting your business, or starting as an acupuncturist?
Oh, so many things. I wish I knew how hard it was going to be. Yeah, I wish I knew how hard it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because I think people see what I built and I don't know, maybe it looks easy to them. I think a lot of people know that I work hard though, because people say like, how do you do everything? How do you do that? Especially in 2019. When I was like traveling and teaching in LA and teaching in Miami and going to New York and whatever, plus having a practice, plus creating these classes, plus having like a brand.
Yeah.
And it was a lot when I would go back and people would be like, oh yeah, remember this time or that time? And I'm like, I did all that in 1 year? That's like the equivalent of 2 careers.
Yeah.
I worked a lot in 2019. So that's why when lockdown came in 2020, I was like,
okay.
Yeah.
A little intervention.
Sorry, did that answer your question?
Yeah, so you said what you wish you had known was how hard it was going to be. So when people hear that, do you mean like, oh, is somebody here?
I think someone's at my door.
Okay, it's okay.
It's fine. We'll just leave it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I think it's just the delivery and I'll just be at the door.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
So when you say it was hard, is it like just how hard it is to like the emotional stress of being a business owner, or how hard it was to grow, or how hard it was to face your own insecurities, or which part was
how hard it was to be how hard it was to grow this on your own, right? Because again, being in Canada, it's different, right? So acupuncture isn't as big here, and then the other things like an inconsistent salary, the really high overhead. So there is a tipping point with a practice, right? So you see X amount of patients a day, you have your rent or your lease or whatever, and it's like, how many people do you need to see where these costs are being covered plus some, and you don't feel burnt out?
Right.
There's a magic number.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get that. And when you get to that number, then you're good.
You're good.
But that was something I had to learn.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to find a place to work that I loved. I loved working on Bay Street. Oh. Absolutely. It fed me. I could I wouldn't go to work with no sleep, but I knew that I could not sleep and go to work and be fine because I was so happy to be there.
That's awesome. That's huge. Feeds your energy. Yeah. Really neat.
Very important.
So did you experience the imposter syndrome?
What exactly is imposter syndrome? I always I read about this and people talk about this, and I'm like, are there people out there that don't feel they deserve the success that they're building? Is that what it is?
Interesting. I feel like it's whenever you're asking yourself to like do something new, to be like scared that maybe you aren't good enough or don't know enough to be the one to do it. To like, yeah, not like in retrospect looking and saying, did I deserve what I have? But like going forward, I feel like scared to put yourself out there, or like
do I have the authority to talk on this? Mm-hmm. So your question is, do I experience imposter syndrome? No.
Wow, it's so interesting. Kara said the same thing. She didn't experience the imposter syndrome either.
This is what I'm here for. I know that in the bottom of my core energy, in my soul, being an acupuncturist, sharing it, teaching it, providing education, this is my soul's purpose. So I can't have imposter syndrome if I'm have this deep knowing, which is what I have.
That's amazing.
Kara does have it too. Kara has no doubt in her mind that this is what she's doing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I admire that because I feel like whenever, I don't know, I felt it especially in the beginning when like I was just starting out and there was like my teacher who was the basic theory teacher was like literally like 3 doors down from me. And you're like, why are you coming to see me? You should go see this like amazing master who taught me.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you're like, and especially in the beginning, before you see like how much acupuncture can do and that you really can help people, you know, before you start seeing that evidence, I especially felt the imposter syndrome. Yeah. But I think it's so inspiring that you have that like knowing, that like inner knowing and confidence.
Well, I wonder then with what you just said, when I had my big experience with acupuncture, like that night I came home and I knew I was going to quit my job and I had this like big emotional release from this acupuncture treatment, that place I went was actually a school. It was a student clinic. I didn't know. And I ended up enrolling in that exact school, so it came full circle. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he was a student, you know, and there was a clinic supervisor there. So if he could do it, anyone could do it. We were all students once, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that's why I never came that way. I don't know. I have no doubt in my mind.
I love that. That's amazing. So cool. So has being an acupuncturist or like in business for yourself, has it been a journey of self-growth? Like, have you had to conquer inner demons, and like what have you learned?
So much. What is success? What do you define as success? What is important to you? What is your work-life balance? How are you going to manage? It's interesting. How are you going to manage living your life as a regular person in society and being an acupuncturist? There's a lot there that is opposite, right? Like going out and drinking and get wasted on the weekend is not an acupuncture vibe.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not saying you can't drink and stuff. Of course you can. But like, I'm just saying that like, there are a lot of things that I've done over the years because I'm an acupuncturist that has limited me from doing normal, quote unquote, things.
Mm-hmm. Just embracing the lifestyle of like living our medicine.
Yes, living our medicine.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what a lucky, beautiful thing to like have such a positive
influence. Yeah, especially now that I'm older, because I'm just like, okay, cool. I might not have done the things you guys did, but I'm pretty happy with the way I look right now and feel. You totally. Know, yeah.
I love that. And so, what do you think? I guess we covered this already. Like, what do you think the most challenging thing about being an acupuncturist was maybe like how hard it was growing the business?
I didn't have a plan. I wasn't expecting the ups and downs financially. You know, I was used to, I mean, although I was still really young, so I wasn't in the music industry very long, but I had a salary. Mm-hmm. I knew how much money I was making, you know, and when you were an acupuncturist, you didn't know. And then you had cancellations. So like, what do you do? Those things at the beginning. right? Like your time got wasted, but you don't want to lose the patient. Then you feel bad about yourself. You feel bad if you say something, like all these kinds of extra things that I was just not prepared for. The being there and the giving, those things I didn't think about them.
The giving, meaning like the holding presence for people. Is that what you mean by the giving?
Yeah, it's a giving, like any healthcare position. It's a giving profession.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so when you say the being there, it's interesting to me, and it kind of segues me into what else I want to ask you about, which is, so you've developed product line. You have a 6-Babe face oil, right? And the gua sha tools, and then master classes that you teach online, right? About how to do gua sha. And you're marketing or serving the public, right? Like not other acupuncturists.
Right.
Right. And so is that, was that partially motivated by being like, I want to like serve more people and not have to be there with my time necessarily one-on-one to develop a product line? Or were you,
No, again, I think it's the drive of what people were asking me. It's always been external for me.
Wow. So
it's
they
never
just
like,
asked you for an
oil.
Do you have a favorite oil? And you're like, I will make
people
you
were always, they're always asking, what oil do you use? What oil do I use?
Yeah.
Have you heard of gua sha? How do you use it? Like I've never been like, oh, I want to have this big brand. I want to have this big skincare line. That's just not how I operate.
Yeah.
I just do what feels right.
So do you have a big skincare line more than the oil? I didn't know.
In terms of my own products, no, I have my oil, and then I have the gua sha tools, the roller, the kit, and then the organic reusable like makeup remover pads.
Oh, those are yours. I didn't realize that. That's neat.
Yeah.
And so did it take like a big expense and investment to like start that?
It's a risk. You're buying things in large amounts of quantities. You have no idea if you're going to sell them or if people will like them. But anything's a risk. So is signing a lease.
Good for you. That's awesome. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So neat. And so what do you wish, or what do you think like the public gets wrong about acupuncture?
That it's painful, that doesn't work, that it's this like big hippy dippy out there thing. I think that's people's biggest misconceptions.
Yeah. I think that's true. It's like, it can be, not painful at all. Done by somebody.
Definitely not painful.
Yeah. And so is there anything else you want to share, like about like what you wish acupuncturists knew about business? Any like advice?
I think the biggest advice, and it's ironic that I say this because I know that I live on Instagram. It's literally my second home. You don't have to be on Instagram.
Yeah.
I really dislike that Instagram for acupuncturists makes acupuncturists feel like what they're doing doesn't matter, or their practice is never going to grow, or they're not going to be a big acupuncturist or an important acupuncturist helping people because they're not on Instagram. I really don't like that. I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
How can that be true if all of our teachers before us didn't have Instagram and they all had busy, successful clinics?
Right.
That means you can do it too without having to be on Instagram. Not everybody is on Instagram, and not everybody looks for people on Instagram. And I will always stand by word of mouth is your number one thing.
Absolutely. I totally agree that social media is not necessarily necessary if you don't love it, especially if it's
I had a full practice for years before I started caring about Instagram. Caring about Instagram came from my inner need to share and educate. It didn't come from, I don't know, like, well, obviously I'm not an influencer, but like, it didn't come from anything else. I'm like, this is growing. And again, external, it was growing on its own. Oh, I can share more. Oh, people are really liking this. Okay, well then I'll share more.
I'll do more.
And more and more and more. That's what it came from. It's not a tool. Again, I don't talk about my practice on there.
Yeah.
It's not a tool for me to get patients. If they see me on there, they want to come in. Okay, cool. So you don't have to do it. Really.
Thank you for saying that.
I think a lot of acupuncturists are more introverts. I'm not.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think I'm an introvert, but I feel like safe on social. I'd rather hide behind like a
screen
app than like go to a networking party or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'd die in person, Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm an extrovert, so that all comes naturally, and I don't find it draining.
Interesting.
A lot of people find it draining. I find it energizing.
Yeah. Awesome.
But I'm an extrovert.
Right. Right. Well, I love that you said that. Thank you. I like wholeheartedly agree. And you mentioned earlier that you are going down to one treatment room because you want to focus more on teaching. So tell me more about that. Do you want to teach acupuncturists? Are you going to develop more master classes, online courses? Like
It's all really new. It's all a little seed under the ground still. So like, I guess I'm not trying to be like one of those like, oh, stay tuned, but you'll have to stay tuned because I'm so externally driven by what I feel will help people the most. Mm-hmm. That like I have to sit and compile what do I feel like based on what I know can bring the most benefit to people, and that's what my classes will be.
I love it. It's awesome,
right? Because again, I'm not being like I'm going to teach this, and this. I need to teach on what I think is going to help the most people.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what you do, and I love that it's all driven from the same like place of passion, like knowing the Chinese medicine and sharing it and teaching it is your like purpose. It's all an extension of that. Yeah, I love that.
Very much.
Another question I wanted to ask you said something earlier about how like your definition of success. Has your definition of success changed over the years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much. Over the years, I think it changes all the time. Mm-hmm. I used to think that I was going to be a successful acupuncturist if I had this kind of credential, if I was specialized in this, if I studied with this teacher. Oh, I'll be successful when I treat this much amount of people a week, this many people a week. I'll be successful when I'm published in such and such magazine. I think that's an ongoing thing, and it's always changed.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
And it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people couldn't care less about being in a newspaper or in a magazine or on a blog or whatever.
Right.
But that's success for me because that means more people are hearing, understanding, learning about acupuncture. Right?
Which is in line with your mission and your passion.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is internally driven, not externally. I love that. So can I ask you just a few like quick fire kind of silly questions?
Oh, yes.
What do you eat for breakfast?
I'm not a huge breakfast person, so usually something really small.
Yeah.
I really I don't remember what the brand is, but there are called these morning rounds. So they're these like small little morning pitas.
Yeah.
Like apple cinnamon or something, or maybe oatmeal. But yeah, I'm not a big breakfast person.
Not a big breakfast person.
I'm a lunch, dinner person.
Cool. What element do you think you are?
Oh, metal.
Metal? Interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hands down.
Yeah. Cool. Who's your TCM hero? Do you have one?
I still love Jeffrey Ewan.
Yeah.
I think he's he is very important now. We still have him here with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing your journey with us. I admire you so much and appreciate you so much. And you're such an inspiration for so many acupuncturists and me. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you and get a peek behind the scenes of your empire. Yeah. So thank you so much. And do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yep, you can find me mainly on Instagram. My handle is 6BabeBeauty, so 6 the number, Babe, BABE, Beauty. That's also my website, and those are probably the best ways to find me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope that as you work to make the world a better place, you also prosper, my friend.